Or something. Well, everybody thought it was wrong. Everybody thought it was a hazard with Corporal Hawkins. There is no definition of a hazard because, as the chief indicated, if they wrote a manual to cover every instant in every situation that a police officer is going to get involved in, we couldn't get that thing in this room. So everybody seems to know except Corporal Hawkins. He left the car there. He didn't stay. He didn't tow it. He didn't stay with his lights on. He left it there with the public in jeopardy. And I think his record was considered in the past. I mean, this man was just January of this year was demoted from sergeant to corporal because of some very serious disciplinary rules that he broke. And he took an appeal and then dismissed his appeal, I assume because he knew he didn't have a chance on that one. But when does a man do enough to fire him? At some point, you've got to say no. At some point, you know, when you've suspended him, when you've demoted him, at some point, it's time to fire him and let him go. And I think that was the time for it to happen.
Gentlemen, it's your pleasure. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, may I make one statement, please?
I object to that.
That's up to...
Yeah, that's fine. Come ahead.
I would just like to address the council about my demotion. I did file an appeal for my demotion, and I was going to go through with it. But I was called into Captain Viola's office, who filed this complaint against me. And he sat me down and said, "Larry, you need to remember what happened to Russell Willis. Russell Willis got demoted."
Mr. Chairman, I know the board wants to hear something, but I would urge the board not to listen to something that's not even in evidence in this record. I mean,
because of what he is saying.
We're talking about that. I have no chance to rebut it. I don't. I mean, we're going way far afield here.
It's something that you said that I would like to address it. I was
It's
going
about
through
things
with
that
my
aren't even in
appeal.
the record.
The board is entirely considering anything.
I was going through with my
Well, I
appeal
don't
to
object
Captain
to anything
Viola.
being considered that's not in the record.
Captain Viola called me in there and said, "You need to remember what happened to Russell Willis. He got fired when he got demoted from jail sergeant to jailer, and when he went to the Civil Service Board, they fired him. You need to remember that." So he scared me. He made me think, you know, I could go to that Civil Service Board and get terminated instead of being reinstated. And that's why I dropped my appeal, not because I didn't think I could not win it. It was because a senior captain, the senior captain of the Bossier City Police Department, scared me, along with Sergeant Pat Chambers. Pat Chambers, prior to Captain Viola calling me in, approached me and told me the exact same thing. He said, "Larry, you need to remember what happened to Russell Willis. Russell Willis got fired when he appealed his demotion to the board. You need to remember that." And then a day or two later, I was calling Captain Viola's office and the exact same thing. That's the reason I dropped my appeal, not because I didn't think I could win. Thank y'all for hearing that.
Can I ask you one thing? Did I approach you and ask you if you were sure that's what you wanted to do, that you would not go through with this appeal?
That is true. You did approach me, but the reason I didn't want to go through with it is because what Sergeant Chambers and Captain Viola said. You need to remember what happened to them. So they scared me. I didn't want y'all to know at that time, and I wouldn't have even mentioned it now if counsel hadn't said, you know, I knew I wouldn't have won my case. But since he said I knew I wouldn't have won my case, that's why I dropped my appeal. No, I was scared into dropping that appeal. That's why that appeal was dropped.